So before we start, I'll do a small introduction to the format itself. So we came up with this format last year, and we had a brainstorm, and finally I said, Nadia, 3 weeks before OEB, Nadia, wouldn't you enjoy coming on stage with me? And because it's 3 weeks before, she said, yes, of course. And now it's all trepidation. So the format of a tandem talk, so this is the new format, is basically two people with different backgrounds who will take the stage like every 5 minutes. We will share part of our story, and to find common ground. So we are both professionals in our field. Nadia is a CEO of SAQA, like really brilliant CEO, and I'm doing my stuff, which is mostly AI or new technologies. But in this case, we will focus on our learning journey to get to where we are now. This means it's a personal story, and because we didn't want it to be fully scripted, each of us knows the two main points of our talk, but we haven't heard what we will be talking about yet, just to keep us on our toes as well. And pure practical, Nadia will start, speak for 5 minutes, then I will take over, speak for 5 minutes on what could be a similar journey or with some common grounds. And then we open the floor for anybody who has or wants to share their own story regarding their learning journey. After that, it's again 5 minutes, 5 minutes Nadia starting on what pushes us forward. And then 5 minutes for me on what pushes me forward. And then again, we ask you to share, whoever wants to, their push forward, what their drive is. If you want to, you can come closer as well. We are two kind people. But you can, of course, also stay there. We will try to project our energy. So, Nadia, are you ready to go for it?
Is this on? Yeah. I am not ready, but I'll do it anyway.
Okay, I'll...
So I must just be honest, when Inge reached out to me, I thought I like challenges, I like pushing myself into uncomfortable situations, and so I said yes. When I saw her energy yesterday, I thought, what am I doing? But I will try and match the enormous creativity and energy that Inge is imbued with. Some context. If we're talking about resilience and education from a South African context, apartheid is the legacy that we always start with. We have only had democracy for 30 years. We celebrated democracy, the 30-year anniversary of our democracy last year, and so we're an incredibly new democracy. But what that means is that we have all of this baggage that is the context for education. So from 1948 to 1994, we had legislation that said if you're black, you get to, the most training you can do is to become a laborer, and if you're white and in the minority, those are the ones that go to university and become professionals. This is the context that people like myself and my family, of course, were brought up in. I'm very privileged to have, of course, missed most of apartheid, having ended in 1994. But my story of resilience is the story of my mother and where she came from. Thank you very much. So, as I said, apartheid really did if you think about the white and the non-white population in South Africa, the white population is less than 10%, right? Everyone else, structural inequality, limited access to education, etc. My grandparents, my grandfather on the one side and my granny on the other side, no education, no secondary education, and no one in the family, of course, had any kind of, if you didn't have secondary education, one can't go further, right? My mother, however, the first graduate in the family, from about 1994, in fact 1991, started studying at a very progressive and liberal university, one that had a small quota for non-white students. And she was able to graduate in 1996. My mother is the first graduate in our family, and I am the second. Yeah, so it's the structure of inequality has been pervasive in our lives. I'm quite pleased with this little picture in the middle. For those of you that would recognize this man over here, this is Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He was the Vice Chancellor of UWC, I think from 1985 to, I don't know when, to just after my mother graduated. And he was, of course, an archbishop, an anti-apartheid activist, and the cleric who actually led the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa at the end of apartheid, being a very close ally of Nelson Mandela. And so, as I said, the university that my mother went to, Archbishop Tutu was the Vice Chancellor, and of course it was the most, and still is the most progressive liberal university in, I would say, in South Africa. My mother studied part-time, night school. She'd already had 3 kids, married, and so this was her second chance. This was her lifelong learning. This was her first degree in 1996, and she and I both graduated with our masters about 10 years ago, simultaneously. So her journey has been, for me, the absolute epitome of education resilience, overcoming structural inequality and disadvantage, but also of a system that, although structurally marginalizing, has also been very progressive and liberal. Night classes, part-time, working in different modalities to actually get through the studies that other people, and like I did, in 3 years, full-time, in traditional mechanisms. So, as I said, my story of resilience is that of my mom, my role model and inspiration. I'll hand over to you.
Can I just, thank you. It's nice to be as surprised as the audience. I kind of like that. So, I come from a long line of craftspeople, fishermen, farmers, blue collars. And I was always a happy child and also very inquisitive. So I built toys in the woodshop of my grandfather for my classmates. I stepped out of bed really early to watch school television on the BBC by the Open University. And at 18 years old, I graduated high school. I followed Latin and sciences, which in my culture means you go to university and you have a good life. There was only one problem. I didn't know how to study. So I tried university 3 times, each time a disaster. So I burned the money of my parents and I felt a failure. And because I never learned to ask for help, I thought, okay, I will make myself invisible. That way, nobody will see this failure. And it's amazing how quickly one can spiral down the societal abyss. And so when I was 27 years old, I was in and out of jobs. I lived in a squat without an official address, and the squat was raided by the police frequently. Nevertheless, I managed to score a job. My first steady job was cleaning lady and waitress at one of the big theaters in Belgium. I was elated, so I worked 6 days a week, really hard, completely committed. And when my boss and I were invited by the big sponsor, which was an executive of a bank, to come and dine, I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to become the manager of the day shift. And so we are having our starters, this executive is talking, and all of a sudden I feel his hand on my lap. Now you must know, I have been picking up 50-liter beer barrels for months. So I gently put my hand on his and started squeezing the hell out of it until he went like, and then I loosened my grip again and I said, there. I was never invited to such dinners again. But it left me feeling vulnerable and cheap because, I mean, I was a waitress thinking I could move on, and all of a sudden, I am an object once again. No worries, I thought, okay, I will do something else, go for vocational training. And I was so happy, so I became a secretary. I'm a certified secretary. And I applied for jobs, rejected. And finally, a small feminist organization said, yes, come over. This was not an appealing job, it was full-time, unpaid work during evenings and weekends, and minimum wage. But I got to know the system a little bit better. And the volunteers had all kinds of questions, and I saw that many of the questions were for computer support. And now, I have always loved computers. And so I built course support manuals, and I sent them by email. And I liked it so much that when I was 35, I was thinking, I'm going to take up a second vocational training. And I became a web designer. And this landed me a job at the Institute of Tropical Medicine. And the thing was, I was surrounded by doctors, international doctors from everywhere. They were at the top of their field, working in war zones, trying to find a solution for HIV and AIDS. So my role as an e-learning developer, I wanted to do it perfectly. And so I bluffed my way into the Open University, Athabasca University in Canada. And eventually, at 46, I got my master's degree also on top of my full-time job. Now, I was like elated. And as I had my master's degree, all of a sudden I see a tweet pass by. The Open University of the UK is looking for PhD students. That is school television university, people. So I'm thinking, that is me. I apply, and I got in. So I told my mother, I'm not only having a master's degree, mother, I am going to become a PhD. My mother goes berserk. She says, impossible. You were such a lost cause. This is a miracle. She picks up the phone, she calls our family, and she tells them what it is. And my family says, it sounds nice, Maria, but what is a PhD? So I come from a long line of blue colors, and I am proud of it. But now we have a foot in the door, and you can see that just having one person in the family who does something different opens up doors. And when I reflected on resilience, for me, that is learning. Learning will always give me a step up, as simple as it is, but it must be also available. And so that is my journey towards resilience. And I would love to hear, we would love to hear, from anybody in the room who wants to share their learning journeys as well, or part of it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone who wants to share? Yes. Sure.
So, not sure if mine is also about resilience, but like my learning path up until now has been quite odd. So maybe nice to share. So in high school, I did, I think, similar subjects to you. So I also took Latin, I took physics, biology, and all kinds of like the beta subjects, as we call them in the Netherlands, because I really wanted to be a veterinarian. So I did, and I did really struggle in those science subjects. I found them like languages and social sciences are actually things I'm better at, but I like the science subjects more. But it was quite hard because I took a higher type of education than my parents did as well. So I didn't really have, like, my parents really wanted to help me, but they were just unable to because they never took the subjects I did. So I really struggled through high school, and then at some point I graduated, but I got chronically ill prior to my final year. So I was really sick throughout the entire year as well, which didn't make it any easier, but I still graduated. And then I was like, okay, am I physically capable of doing the bachelor I've always dreamed of, the bachelor in veterinary medicine? And at that point I was too scared because I really think I couldn't do it. So I signed up for another studies instead, which I had to quit in 3 weeks because basically the faculty told me that they didn't like recognize my medical condition, so there was nothing they could do for me for extra support. And it stressed me out so much that my parents basically took me out of university because I was spiraling down very fast as well. And then a year progressed, and I was getting slightly better, and the medication was doing what it was supposed to do. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try one more time to get into university, but then it must be the study I really wanted. So I applied for veterinary medicine. I was in the top amount of percentage I needed to be, so I got my spot, I got into the bachelor's, which was still very hard because I was still sick, so I didn't get the student life that most people had, which also the students didn't understand. So why won't you come out partying? Well, I need to go to bed at 8 p.m., you know, I'm done. So then I got to the end of my bachelor's, and then I got another really weird point because I didn't want to be a veterinarian anymore, which sounds really weird, but I really love, and I still do, I love the trade. I love being a veterinarian. I didn't like the workspace I was going to end up with. So the field, there was just, like, a new research came out about the mental state of veterinarians. I don't know what that's like in other countries, but I think the study said that over 85% either had a burnout or had like burnout-related symptoms. There's also a lot of suicides in the veterinary world, basically because the stuff you need to kill yourself is available in the practice where you work at, which is really cruel, but it still happens a lot. So there where I was at the end of my bachelor's, living the dream, and then saying to myself, this is not what I want. So I finished my bachelor's, and I was like, okay, black hole, because I've always dreamed of being a vet, and now I'm not going to be a vet. So what am I going to do? And then somehow I ended up at the place where I work now. So I now work for the Ministry of Defense, for our army to be specific. So I got in with a really unrelevant bachelor's degree in veterinary medicine, and there I was at a military base doing management support. So everyone was like, what are you doing here? But then I actually had a really nice supervisor, and she was like, you're a smart girl, so you know what? You can pick a master's degree, and we'll have the ministry pay for it. So they did. So now I graduated the 1st of September this year as an educational scientist, and now I work for the Royal Netherlands Army. So my life has been a really weird roller coaster to get up until where I am now. But
congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
Really. That's beautiful. I think she's your next Tandem Talk co-presenter.
Yeah, we should, indeed. We should have like a talking stick. Could we do the second segment and then come back? Because we're just
Thank you.
But afterwards, we have more time.
Okay, so thank you, Lisa, for your incredibly inspiring story. We've all got this baggage and, traumas and stuff that has held us back. What moves us and pushes us forward? In South Africa, and personal for me really, is our philosophy in the spirit of Ubuntu and social justice. Having come from structured inequality, the fact that we have in our constitution, embedded in our constitution of 1996, aspects of social justice, alleviating poverty, addressing unemployment and inequality specifically, is what drives me every day. I work in education. I also, like Lisa, studied something completely irrelevant. I thought I was going to be a sports psychologist, and here I am, an education policymaker. But it is the sense of where we've come from and what we have seen around us, and I think also the fact that certainly in South Africa, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful tool to change the world, that drives us and policymakers like myself in South Africa. So we have social justice embedded in our system, and of course the Ubuntu principle, which is a spirit of Africa that is, I am because we are. We don't travel this world alone. We don't have these journeys, these education journeys, as individuals. We have parents who care for us. We have communities around us. And it is the sense of the spirit of community and togetherness that really, for us in South Africa, pushes us forward in our continued democratic project. We currently, from the 2000s, actually have Ubuntu written into our policies. Social justice is written into the NQF system specifically. And so this is, for us, the guiding spirit of education.
Oh, super. This is amazing, isn't it? We talk about adding ethics or thinking about sustainability, but then you have it written in the Constitution. So what drives us forward? What drives us forward? I wondered, do I want to be the best at something? I wanted to be the best when I was in sciences, when I was a teenager, and I dreamt of getting the Nobel Prize, But there's a big gap between dream and reality, and there is no Nobel Prize for education anyway. And I think that's because educators are also unmeasurable, because what we do is we take everything we know, we put it in our learners or students, and then we launch them. And they become better, brighter, brillianter than us, because that's how it works. The best educators make themselves superfluous. I was also thinking that as educators, we are a very playful lot. We even have this concept of gamified learning. I mean, if you take it to any other domain, it's strange. Gamified taxes. Or gamified healthcare. It's like the Hunger Games. You don't want to get, but for us it works. Gamified learning, yes, yeah, immediately. We are also curious. We want to see what's beyond the horizon, the visible horizon. We can see it in the exhibits. And I'm also always thinking, what can we do with an emerging technology? And I noticed that not everybody is as open to exploration, because each time I went to my executives or director or boss or whatever, and I said, mobile learning for low resource settings? No. MOOCs to connect people in free education? No. AI? No. Each time. I did it anyway, because as an educator, you just step up and you say, is there anybody who wants to play with me? The topic is mobile learning. And then people say, yeah, oh. AI also. AI before the hype. AI, yes, oh, I have ideas, and people come together and we start to exchange notes and become enthusiastic, form a community. And then I was thinking, this is actually what I really like, getting the community together. I could also see it yesterday and throughout today that the 30 under 30 people are also excited and innovative, and they want to create an impact, and they do it. And so last year I met with Ali Alam, and he came to me and he said, Inge, could I talk to you? And I said, yes, of course, because sometimes I can be so pompous. But he started to talk, and he said, I quit high school. I dropped out of high school, and I made my own company, built my own company, and to inspire young children to learn better. And it was so successful that a multinational came in, and they bought my company for 5 million. I mean, 5 million. And he didn't do it once, he did it twice. And now he's gathering international students to make them better entrepreneurs within a network. I mean, as he was talking, I was like feeling smaller and smaller once again. And I was thinking, you know, I'm no Nobel Prize material anyway. At a certain point, you need to accept who you are, and I was accepting it once again. But then I remembered my mother being excited and saying, "Ah, it's a miracle." And I do live within a miracle. I'm really very consciously living it, because I get to work with all of these, and it's a selection, but all of these giants who stand on the shoulders of giants. It would never be me, but I get to be among them, like Nadia. She shares wisdom, like you all, and I can grow from there. And so when I was thinking about it, I mean, what pushes me forward is the certainty that if I walk here or anywhere in the world and I say, does somebody want to connect and collaborate, co-create? People will say yes, and it will come with great ideas. And so for me, it's a small thing. It's not so impactful as Ubuntu, but I think that's is what creates magic in my life. So thank you. And now, I'm wondering, you can either go for learning journey or resilience, or what pushes you forward? We would love to hear. If Zen meditation, because if Zen meditation were to push you forward, I'm immediately ready to.
I was hesitant because probably not only me, because it feels like there is probably better people to speak on this than I am. So here I am anyways. And I like this question. It's been something that, well, I want to connect to where I'm from. I'm from Croatia. We have joined the European Union in 2013. And since then, this was just before I graduated, a lot of young people, young bright minds were leaving my country and going other places for a better life because the opportunities opened up, which became a little bit of an issue for our country. But there was reasons why people were leaving for a better life. We have a lot of corruption going on, a lot of social problems actually coming from our history and from just maybe human nature and power, hunt. And I was studying social sciences, political science, which kind of, this is where no jobs were offered because those are the jobs where you need to be in a part of the system, you need to know somebody so that you can get a job. And so everyone was saying, well, there is no jobs for us. When we were about to graduate university, everyone was actually depressed because everyone knew there is no jobs that are waiting for us out there. And my thought always was, but there is so much to do. Guys, this is actually why and this is why I studied, and this is why where I find my drive in all of the problems that I see around myself, and I want to do something about it. And I also want to really believe in what I'm doing. So it's not easy always to find that spot where I truly belong with my convictions and the way I want to do things. But I do think it's possible, and I feel lucky, but I also think it's a part of my mindset and my ability to spot opportunities that are not, it didn't come to me from work interviews. It came from some volunteer work that I did on the side, where I saw the opportunity that brought me to where I am today. So I think that that's something that I would hope more people are in tune with. Mm-hmm. What is it that drives me, and where is that taking me, and be courageous enough to go there.
I love it. Thank you. Anybody else who wants to share?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try keep my story as short as possible. So my story is that from primary school I was excelling and the awards and whatnot, and then got to my high school, and in the middle of that I then lose my mom, and I happened to live by myself in the middle of high school up until I completed my matric. And right after that, I went to university, where I went to pursue a degree in actuarial science. But then I dropped out of that and then went to work for about 2 years or so. But because I was so determined to change life and how things were, and also to become the first graduate in my immediate family. So I thought to myself that let me go back to school, and I went back to school, finished my undergraduate Bachelor's of Commerce, and after that did my honors degree, and obviously endless opportunities became available. And what really pushed me is looking back at where I was coming from and where I wanted to be, and understanding that there's only one me in this world. There could never be another me. So if I don't make it, who else is going to do it? And today I'm doing my master's degree in information systems, still contemplating about the PhD. I'm not sure, but hopefully we will get there one day.
Wow, thank you. So many stories. Anybody else who wants? Wait, Nadia. I will bring because otherwise you're like running all over the place, and it doesn't feel good. So, yes, please. I will stand here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. So perhaps a bit of both. As I graduated high school, I went to study a specific bachelor's degree, which I failed miserably within a year. I changed over to a second degree, which I failed miserably. A third attempt to something else was also a fail. And my fourth attempt finally landed me to finish up with at least something. I never believed in my own capabilities. It's only through meeting people from abroad that I was offered opportunities to study elsewhere. Not me believing in my own abilities, but someone else believing in what I was capable of. And I went and I studied in London, some postgraduate qualifications. And even in those times, I did not believe that I was actually able to do that. So I think often our own mental blocks can be the reason why we struggle, or why we have to be resilient, but not necessarily to factors from outside, but rather from within. Now, having that in mind, I just finished a a doctorate in music, which is hilarious, and I work in higher education as a lecturer, which if you asked me that 10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. So one must never underestimate your own ability, and once you actually start asking the questions of purpose for yourself in life, things become clear. And I don't think that purpose necessarily exactly what you do, but it is what happens to those around you when you do what you do.
Oh, nice. Thank you. The torch of speaking comes to you, dear sir. Please.
Thank you. I'm adding to that. I was a big kid. I'm 2'10", and I used to be when I was smaller. When I was 12, I was 185, so I was always tall. And when you're tall, you're the middle of attention, but not positive. You stand out, you get teased, including the one who's now running for prime minister in Netherlands. Yeah, I don't like him. But that's another story. I was never the smart one. I studied to be a carpenter. I did that, I worked for a while. It was like, you know what, I want to do something with it. So I went to my next level, did my next education. And if you told me I would end with a bachelor, well, I feel incredibly stupid when I'm sitting here with all the masters and university people, by the way. It's a joke. I think everybody has that path you need to find. Mm-hmm. And what pushes me is, at a certain point, I found out that I really, really loved giving the knowledge I have about the things I love to students. So then I found the education to be a teacher. And now what pushes me every day is those students, not all of them, because we know teens can be jerks. The ones who come out to you are okay, we have a big classroom with all kinds of carpentry tools. And during the breaks, I spent my breaks mostly in my classroom grading things and pre-working some wood for the next class. That the students come there, sir, I don't like the break room. Can I just help you? And those students, that pushes me forwards. Those who want to learn, who want to do, and see you like more than just a teacher, who just like to be around the classroom and like to be around you as a person.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm just, how late, do you have any idea of how late it is? Only 5 minutes over. Well done. To be clear, I think there is only half an hour left of the coffee break. That means, yeah. Is there a structured person in the room? Yes, you say yes. Then, so you can choose either someone who really wants to say something, or otherwise we meet each other during the next few days. And what do you think? Going for coffee? One little last question. Did you like the format? Because it's new. Do you like it? Would you come back? Yes? Okay. We liked it, I think. Well, I liked it. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you for the sharing. I think some people said, we don't feel like we belong. All of us have this imposter syndrome. And when you share, you realize that actually we're all misfits and we're all in this together. So this has been wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you very much.